Well, this week, folks, we're on the Mary River. Not a lot of water flowing down at the moment. Just going through a little bit of a rapid here. Lovely clear water. Probably hear the canoe scratching as we go down. Really nice part of the world. Unfortunately, this area was absolutely thrashed by floods late last year, start of this year. So the banks are all washed out and destroyed and so forth. So not as picturesque as it might normally be. Still a beautiful part of Queensland. Heading out for another overnighter. There's no fishing. The Mary River cod, which is a protected species, is spawning at the moment. So there's no fishing at all. Even though there are Saratoga, there's bass and so forth in this river, you're just not allowed to fish at all. They don't want you dragging any of the Mary cod out, even catch and release, because they are spawning and obviously it's going to affect their spawning and so forth. But that's okay. So we're going to spend, as I said, the night on the river. It is a nice change going with the flow, I must admit, rather than paddling across the lake into wind and that normal sort of stuff I've been doing the last few months. So yeah, lovely change. Lovely and quiet, which I love. So join me on this trip and we'll see how this adventure turns out. You can see all the pushed over trees here and debris on the sides of the bank. It's still a lovely place to be on a Saturday morning. As I said earlier, it's so nice to just be going down a river for once. Other than the Tangel River and a couple of other slower moving ones, this is probably the best river I've been on so far from that point of view. It's just really nice to go along with the flow of a river. Listen to all the wildlife, birds. And of course, because I can't fish this weekend, because the Mary River cod are spawning, which are a protected species, I'm seeing fish everywhere, aren't I? They're coming up to the surface and stealing stuff, and they're scooting off from under logs. Always the way. Certainly is a beautiful river. Lots of ducks and cormorants, bird life. And fish, as I said. Really pretty. Just stopped paddling then. There was a beautiful platypus right in the middle of this billabong. Just beautiful. It's the second one I've seen so far. Very happy about that. Really, really hard to find or see platypus in the wild, guys. Really elusive little animal. So nice when you get to a part of the river that still looks wild. Doesn't look like you're going through farmland, which is nice. It's one of the things you can't quite... Sorry, another platypus, number 3. Unfortunately, I can't film it, even with a mobile phone or a zoom lens. All you'd see is the top of a head under the water. It's a bit like a turtle in the water. There's not much to see. That's number 3. Wow. Yeah, it's nice to be just going down a lovely, what I would call wild area of the river. As with a lot of rivers these days in a lot of countries, they end up going through farmland because that's the best place to have a farm. It's just lovely to get to a section like this where it's just still nice wild trees and so forth growing on the banks. You can't see any signs of farming and so forth. It just makes you feel like you're out in the wild places again, which I always like. you feel like a big kid again going down rapids. Absolutely love it. Once again, nice camping spot on my right here, big beach. I'll show you that. A nice big deep pool. Little set of rapids coming into it, so it'll be great fishing, great camping. But we've got a long way to go yet. One of the great things about a canoe and an old style paddle is it's stealthy quiet. I've now seen 4 platypus. Which basically is making no noise at all. So guys, if you're looking to do this trip, you're in a kayak in particular, or you have a double-ended paddle, just try and do it nice and quietly when you get to the big deeper pools, and hopefully you'll be able to see some platypus as well. But I'm getting up very, very close before they're noticing me. Maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 meters before they even notice me, and then I'll dive under the water. Big massive trees all pushed over here from the floods. Lots of timber lying around. Wow, just major devastation up on this side of the river here. Just been trashed. And we've got one across the river. Let's have a look at what we got here. Might have to get out again. Go around the stump end of it. I think we're gonna come to a screaming halt by the look of it. Yep, we are not getting through there. All right, hop out and see if we can drag it through these trees. Up over on this branch, come on, up we come, down the other side, there we go, we should be able to get in, push ourselves off with a bit of luck, almost there, whoa, Jesus, ha. Oh, there we go, we're a bit wet and damp, we're through, just. How nice is this? That's beautiful. The great things about this river is it's got a sandy bottom, so the water's really super clear. It's only when you get into the deep holes, but even then, it's like a light aqua green. Just beautiful. Well, this one got me all tangled up. I've come through here and couldn't get under that log. Went sideways, and of course the canoe just went like that. And the end result was we got a canoe full of water. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get everything out of this guy and tip it over. Luckily everything's in dry bags, so we're all good. But well, right on cue, the sun's come out to dry me out, which is lovely. I'm back on the water, only about 7 minutes off the river, which is good. Pretty easy. Pull things out, roll her over, put it back in. Quick toilet stop, and we're good to go. So I've got a bridge marked on Guy here, which is essentially halfway, and that's about where I wanted to camp. But only speaking to Ian this morning, he was saying the trip from that river, sorry, that bridge to the next bridge is about 8 hours. So plan is I'll stop at the bridge, have a bite to eat, and then we'll push past down river further and get a bit closer to the car, so that tomorrow morning essentially I'll only have about 6 hours to get to the car rather than 8. So Always like to make it easy on the second day. That way if something goes wrong like it just did then, you've got no issues, you've got plenty of time, and you can get to the car and before it gets dark and without any issues, which will be nice. Well, we made it to the bridge, 1:45. Just letting the pants dry out on a nice little rocky shoal here. Very nice. Just got the place to myself just before the bridge so that we don't get too many of the public coming around while I'm standing here with my pants off. But anyway, just having a sandwich. We'll chuck some chocolate in the vest as well. And we'll get back out in the river and find ourselves a camp spot. Well, that's not a bad view to wake up to tomorrow morning. We found ourselves a nice beach here. You can see I've already chucked some of my gear up. River comes down and around here, sweeping through, and we're probably about a metre up off the surface of the river here. So we could put the tent on here. Only problem is the wind's coming from this direction, so it'll actually be howling into us the whole time. But we've got these nice steps here, created when the floods happened. So what I'm thinking is maybe putting the tent on one of these guys. Probably this one here. Got to clear all these sticks off and so forth. And then when I wake up in the morning I can open the tent up and that'll be the view, which would be quite nice. So put the tent up here, and we'll probably have the fire down where the canoe is, so we can get near the water and so forth, and a little bit out of the wind and so forth, and we'll do our cooking down there. But I have to say, it looks absolutely fantastic. I'm pretty buggered, so I'm going to get the tent set up and then have a nice cleansing ale, and then we'll gather up some firewood and get ourselves organised for the evening. Cheers, guys. Well, it's just past 5 o'clock. Going to set the fire up here. I've got some firewood behind me, so I want to get some rocks and back up at the bank here and put them down first. And then we'll get a fire set up here, but right now I just want to have a bit of a rest and a beer, I'll be honest. It's been a bit of a hard slog today, but thoroughly enjoyable. Absolutely gorgeous river. So I'm just looking forward to now just sitting back, relaxing. The tent's all set up, the bedroom's all set up. All we've got to go do is light a fire, make some dinner, and settle in for the evening. So for a change tonight, I've decided to do satay chicken, peanut satay sauce with some coconut milk, peas and corn and some red capsicum. Absolutely beautiful. Unfortunately, I'm getting hammered by bugs here at the moment, so I'm going to turn all these lights off and eat this, and then come to you, back to you good folks tonight when I'm having a cup of tea. Well, I think I might skip the cup of tea thing tonight. There's no stars out, there's the clouds covering the sky, and there's a whole lot of little natty things. Just every time you turn the light on, they all just turn up. There's literally millions of the little buggers. So I think I might just finish this beer, let the fire go out, head into the tent and get an early night, and then I'll come back to you guys tomorrow morning. Well, it's a very cold start this morning. It's supposed to get down to 13 degrees, but it feels a lot colder than that with the fog, mist. There's a lot of dampness around the campsite. We had a lot of dew overnight. We're waking up to a beautiful day. Birds woke me up as usual, which was wonderful. So I'm just going to enjoy this morning as the sun comes up, have my porridge and a coffee, and then we'll get back out in the water. We're a little bit late out of camp this morning. Unfortunately, the sun didn't come out. It came out at about 6:30, and I thought that'll dry everything off, but not the case. So we've packed up a very, very wet camp this morning. We've got beautiful conditions out on the water. So plan is, I'll do a summary of the trip closer to the end, of some of the observations, thoughts on time of the year, all that type of stuff. So listen through to the end, and I'll give you that full synopsis of what I think about the trip, and as I said, you know, fishing and all that sort of good stuff. But so far the count is 6 platypus. Now that is just crazy good. All my life I've never seen more than 1, maybe 2. But to see 6 on one little river stream, or one river, is just phenomenal. So. Watched the show by Ray Mears many years ago. For those who don't know Ray, he's an English bushcraft expert, and he was retracing some of the fur trade routes in Canada, and he went out for a 3 or 4 night trip on a river in a canoe. One of the things he was talking about the first night at camp was he was saying that it takes a while to get into the rhythm of the river, and for the body to catch up with the paddling and so forth, and find your rhythm and get a feel for the river and how it flows and so forth. And that's very true. I discovered that yesterday when I first got in the river. I'm completely getting it all wrong. So of course on flat water, quiet water, non-moving water, you're always cutting corners and so forth. But of course in a fast moving river, you end up going across the gravel. So you have to actually go on the outside of the river, which is where the main flow is in the deeper water and so forth. And later in the show we caught up with Ray Goodwin, the English paddling guru, and taught him how to use a bow drill, which was really interesting. He actually got a fire going, which was great after a lot of huffing and puffing and sweating, but he got there. But yeah, absolute brilliant guy to watch in a canoe, obviously, absolute expert. So, but yeah, it's one of those shows that you watch on TV. That was probably 12, 15 years ago. And you think, I got to do that one day. I got to get myself a canoe and go out into the wild places and paddle down a river by yourself and get into the wild places. And I just realised I was paddling down here for the last 10 minutes or so. That's exactly where I am now, which is great. So it's always good sometimes just to think back and think, well, you always wanted to do that. And guess what? Now you are. Well, I don't remember asking for rain on this trip. And watching the hills ahead of me up the river, You can see they were shrouded in mist. It might look like rain. And I'm just coming into it now. Sort of comes and goes, this misty rain. Not enough to soak you, but yeah, just enough to get you wet. I'm hoping that it stays ahead of me. Don't really want to be soaked before I have to get into my car. Anyway, we'll see how we go. Yeah, not good. Getting soaked here. So close, it's not funny. Probably only got about another half hour, an hour to go, but I'm getting absolutely soaked. Did not order rain. No, thank you. Not interested. Of course, raincoat inside a dry bag, isn't it? I got a little water spray jacket in there. Tip for young players. Keep that out next time we go out. But once again, did not expect rain. 20% chance of rain. I'm not leaving it out. So anyway, we'll just keep slogging on. Well, the rain's finally stopped, so I got myself in under the trees here just to wrap up this video and do a few trip notes. Highlights of the trip was obviously the river itself. As I said, crystal clear water, beautiful sandy bottom. The cleanest river I've been on in a long, long time, since the start of the year, down at Tangel River in Victoria. It is just beautiful, really, really lovely paddling. So yeah, the river itself is definitely the highlight of the trip itself. The second thing for me was the wildlife and marine life. Seeing 10 platypuses, platypi, whatever the plural is for platypus. That was another highlight. I've never seen that many in the wild. And to be able to just come into a nice quiet pool and see platypus in the wild was an absolute joy. The third one is the camping options. Whilst it is private land, if you do the right thing, clean up when you go, don't have roaring fires, don't make too much noise, there are plenty of options down here on private land on these little sandy beaches. There's a couple of grassy spots as well. So it is a great trip from that perspective as well. I got put in at Walker's Bridge. I got Ian to put me in there. And that section down to Vic Olsen Bridge is beautiful, just stunning. More wildlife, more of the platypus and so forth, probably 80% within that section alone. And I found that to be the most, I suppose, wild looking as far as traveling down a river. Second section from Vic Olsen Bridge down to Traviston Crossing, which is where I'm sitting now, is still lovely, don't get me wrong. There's bigger, wider sections, a lot more farmland, a lot less trees on the side and so forth, so you don't get that feeling that you're in the wild as much as you do with that top section. So either section will be great for a day paddle. If you don't mind getting out occasionally, out of your canoe, kayak or so forth, or just probably just blast over the top of gravel and so forth, then I would recommend the top section. But if you want an easier day out, just a nice, gentle, easy paddle down through some open rapids and so forth, then Vic Olsen to Traviston Crossing is going to be the way to go. The water is probably as low as you want to go, so I'll definitely talk to Ian. I'll have his contact details and website in the description below. Definitely worth talking to Ian about the river conditions and so forth, and particularly the height of the river. I also will provide him with the data on where that actual tree was across the river, so he can check and monitor that to see if that actually ends up getting pushed down, or whether a farmer comes and pushes it out the way, etc. So he can give you all the advisement on that. So my advice, if you want to get out, you want to do it fairly soon. There's also another La Nina weather pattern coming through this year, they're forecasting. So if that happens, this river will flood again like it did earlier in the year. So once again, if you want to get out in the river, either do it post-Christmas or in the next month or two before the La Nina weather patterns that turns up. But highly recommend the trip. Fantastic fun. You can either split it in two and do two-day trips, or you can do the overnighter like I did. Either way, very, very worthwhile. So thank you for joining me on this adventure. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you all in 2 weeks' time. Bye for now.